My name is Audrey Harbor. I'm 30 years old, and on the night I thought my life would begin, it broke clean in half instead. The velvet ring box inside my purse felt impossibly heavy, like someone had slipped a brick into the lining. It wasn't just the weight of platinum or the diamond I had spent 8 months quietly saving for. It was the weight of the promise inside it of the future I thought I was, moments away from offering the man I'd loved for 4 years. Across the table at Le Jardin, the most expensive French restaurant in the city, my boyfriend Samuel let out a dramatic sigh as he flicked through Instagram with the kind of intensity that made me wonder if the glass screen would crack under his thumb. Candlelight glowed against his cheekbones, but the expression it revealed was one I had come to dread over the past 6 months. Irritation mixed with boredom, mixed with a bitterness he never tried to hide anymore. He wasn't looking at me. He wasn't looking at the sparkling skyline view I had begged the maitre d' for 3 weeks in advance. He wasn't even noticing how my shaking fingers kept smoothing the napkin over my lap. He was staring at a photo of his friend's fiancée. "Jessica got engaged," he muttered, voice flat. He didn't even look up. "That's the 3rd one this month. Audrey, 3 of my friends. Even the ugly ones are getting married." The words hit like a slap. If I hadn't already known his mood, I might have flinched. I took a sip of water, hoping it would steady the tremor in my hand. He didn't notice. He didn't notice much about me anymore. "Her ring is nice," I lied, trying to redirect the spiraling tension I could feel coming. "But honestly, Sam, I think you deserve something better, something custom." "That was a mistake." Samuel finally looked up. His eyes narrowed. "I deserve something, period." My heart sank a little. This had become our dynamic, his frustration spilling out like acid burning through every soft moment we tried to create. Somewhere around year 3, ambition. Something I used to admire in him had curdled into obsession. He didn't want a marriage. He wanted a wedding. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a social trophy. And then there was Melissa. His phone buzzed on the table. The screen flashed with her name, Melissa Work. My stomach tightened. She was the coworker he promised I didn't need to worry about. The one he insisted was just a friend. The one who knew the details of our arguments before I even finished having them. Recently, she'd been sending little funny memes, late-night photos from bars, accidental selfies. I kept my voice neutral. "Are you going to get that?" Samuel glanced at the phone, then at me. I saw the calculation flicker in his expression. He picked it up anyway. "She's asking if I'm having fun," he said, a smirk playing on his lips. "She's having a party at her loft later. Says the invite's still open if my boring dinner ends early." My mouth fell open. "Sam, we're celebrating our anniversary." He shrugged. "Well, she pays attention to me." The couple at the next table turned their heads. Heat crawled up my throat. "She knows my worth," Samuel snapped. "She tells me that if she had a partner like me, she wouldn't keep me waiting for 4 years. I felt the ring box in my purse press into my ribs like a blade. If he could just stop attacking me for 30 more minutes, if he could give me one moment of tenderness, he would see that I wasn't dragging my feet. I was planning perfection. "Samuel," I whispered, "I'm not keeping you in limbo. I wanted us to be financially stable. I wanted us to be ready." "Stable?" He scoffed, practically spitting the word. "You're so obsessed with being stable, Audrey. It's boring. Melissa isn't boring. Melissa lives in the moment." He drained his wine glass in one swallow, clinked it down hard, leaned across the table with cold, glittering eyes. "I'm done," he said. "Done waiting. Done being the boyfriend who looks pathetic because his partner can't make decisions. So here's how this is going to go." I felt the air disappear from the room. "You propose to me tonight right now, or by the time we walk out of this restaurant. If I don't have a ring on my finger by midnight, I'm calling an Uber to Melissa's loft, and I'm not coming back." That was it. No hesitation, no shame, just a guillotine dropping right in the center of the table. "You're threatening to sleep with Melissa if I don't propose," I asked, my voice barely audible. "I'm telling you I have options," he said coolly. "Melissa has been begging for a chance for months. So, step up or step aside." Something inside me didn't shatter. It clicked. A small, quiet click, like a lock turning, like a door opening somewhere inside me. All the anxiety about proposing vanished in an instant. I reached into my purse. Samuel's breath hitched. His entire face transformed anger melting into greedy triumph. He thought he had won. I set the navy velvet box on the table. He gasped. His eyes filled with sudden, syrupy tears. "Oh my God, Audrey," he whispered. "I knew you just needed a push." Snap. I closed the box loudly, making him flinch. I pulled it back. I put it in my purse. His smile collapsed. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Stop. Give it to me." "No." He blinked. "What?" 3 months, I said. I've had this ring for 3 months. I worked overtime to pay for it. I planned this night because I thought you were my partner, but you just looked me in the face and told me that if I didn't give you what you wanted on your timeline, you would go sleep with another woman. I didn't mean it, he stammered. I was just emotional. That's not emotion. That's blackmail. The waiter approached awkwardly. Check, please, I said. Separate. Samuel stared as though I had grown horns. Separate checks, Audrey, sit down. You're ruining the moment. You ruined the moment the second you invited Melissa into our relationship. I stood, dropped a $50 on the table, buttoned my jacket. If you walk out that door, he hissed, we are done. I swear, Audrey, I will go to Melissa's. You should, I said softly. You deserve each other. And with that, I turned and walked toward the exit. Audrey, he screamed behind me. I didn't look back. I stepped into the cool night air, and for the first time in years, I felt free. The hotel room was too clean, too quiet. So quiet that the silence almost hummed. I sat on the edge of the stiff mattress, my purse on my lap, my fingers unconsciously brushing the velvet ring box through the fabric. It felt surreal that only an hour earlier I had been sitting across from Samuel rehearsing a proposal speech in my head. Now the speech felt like it belonged to a different woman entirely. My phone face down on the nightstand vibrated nonstop. At first it buzzed gently, then aggressively, like a trapped insect trying to escape. I knew better than to look. But curiosity has sharp little teeth. It gnaws. Eventually I reached for it. 17 missed calls. 34 text messages. The first few were predictable. 8:45 p.m. Audrey, please pick up. You're being dramatic. 8:52 p.m. I didn't mean it. I was just stressed. Come back so we can talk like adults. 9:15 a.m. You're embarrassing me. People are staring. Come back inside. 9:45 p.m. Fine. If you don't answer in 5 minutes, I'm calling Melissa. I exhaled slowly. There it was. The gun he'd held to my head earlier, now fired. And then, 10:30 p.m., I'm in the Uber. This is on you. 11:15 p.m. Melissa is listening to me. She actually cares about how I feel. Unlike you. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. He did it. He actually went to her. My hand trembled as I opened Instagram. I told myself not to look, but I did anyway. Human hearts are stupid like that. They want to see the thing that hurts them just to be sure the pain is real. There it was. A photo posted 20 minutes earlier. 2 wine glasses on a glass coffee table. Out of focus background. But unmistakable, the exposed brick loft Melissa bragged about constantly. The caption read, "Finally with someone who knows my worth. Cheers to new beginnings." He had tagged her. It was over. Not the relationship that had been dying for months. What ended in that moment was the version of myself that kept trying to fix it. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the phone or scream into a pillow. Instead, I felt something startling. Relief. If I had proposed that night, if I had caved to his ultimatum, this is the man I would have married. A man who kept a backup plan in his back pocket. A man who saw love as leverage. I took screenshots of the post, screenshots of his text threats, saved them to a folder on my cloud drive labeled insurance. Then I blocked Samuel, blocked Melissa, blocked his sister, who was already calling me a commitment phobe, blocked every mutual friend whose loyalty I doubted. I turned off the lights and lay back on the rigid hotel pillows. For the first time in months, I didn't tense, waiting for a notification. I didn't rehearse arguments in my head. I didn't care how Samuel felt. He was Melissa's problem now. I fell asleep almost instantly. Morning came as a blade of sunlight slipping through the blinds. Sharp, unavoidable. But clarity came with it. I thought the hard part was over. It wasn't. But the next part required decisiveness, something Samuel always accused me of lacking. Fine, I'd show him decisiveness. At 8 p.m. I called my landlord. "Mr. Henderson, it's Audrey Harbor. I need to break my lease." He grunted. "You've got 6 months left. 2-month penalty, plus the security deposit." "That's fine. I'll wire it today. I need my name off the lease effective immediately. Samuel can stay if he wants to sign a new one." There was a long pause. "Everything all right, Audrey?" "No. But for the first time in a long time, everything was honest." Next, I called an emergency moving company, one that specialized in same-day moves for people escaping bad relationships, awful roommates, or sudden disasters. They cost double. I didn't care. "We'll be there in an hour," the dispatcher said. Perfect. I drove back to the apartment Samuel and I had shared, or rather the apartment I had paid most of the rent for. It already felt haunted. The ghosts of our life together clung to every object, every corner. The throw blanket from our Vermont trip, the coffee maker he insisted he needed for his productivity, the framed photo of us from year one where his smile had reached his eyes. I felt nothing toward any of it. I packed only what was mine: clothes, books, work laptop, kitchenware I'd bought before him, the small reading chair I had rescued from a thrift store years ago. I left the TV, left the shared bed, left anything that felt like ours. I was done holding the weight of a shared life he had already abandoned, emotionally, long before last night. By 11:30 a.m., the apartment was half empty. My keys sat on the kitchen counter next to one printed sheet of paper, a screenshot of his Instagram post with Melissa. No note, no explanation. Just the truth. My final stop was the jeweler Goldman & Sons. Walking inside felt almost embarrassing. Less than 24 hours ago, I had picked up the ring, my ring for him, a gesture of love he never deserved. Mr. Goldman, the owner, saw me the moment the door chimed. "Miss Harbour," he said gently, "is everything all right?" I placed the velvet box on the counter. "I need to sell it back." His face fell with sympathy. She didn't like the design. He didn't get the chance to see it. Mr. Goldman opened the box, examined the stone through his loupe. "You know I can't give you retail value." "I know, just give me the market number." He calculated. $9,000, maybe $9,500 if I scrap the setting. A $5,000 loss. Strangely, that number didn't sting, not compared to the emotional price I would have paid marrying Samuel. "Do it!" 30 minutes later, I walked out with a check and a strange, weightless feeling. By evening, the lease penalty was paid. My belongings were in storage. I had signed for a new one-bedroom apartment in a quiet part of the city. And with the leftover money, I booked a solo trip to Italy during the week I was supposed to be on my engagement moon. A new life for the cost of a ring. A bargain. As I stepped out of the travel agency, my phone buzzed with a message from a mutual friend, David. "Dave, Audrey. Samuel is freaking out. He says you ghosted him and locked him out. That's cold." I smiled dryly. Let the spin campaign begin. I sent him 2 images. His midnight ultimatum. His Instagram post at Melissa's loft hours later. 3 dots appeared. Typed. Stopped. Typed again. "Dave. Holy sh*t. Never mind. You dodged a missile. I'll handle the friend group." I exhaled. For the first time in 4 years, I ordered myself a pizza, sat on the floor of my new empty apartment, and ate in total peace. I thought I was free, but Samuel wasn't done. Not even close. They say heartbreak takes months to process, but mine evaporated in days. Removing Samuel from my life felt like taking off a backpack filled with wet cement. I slept deeper than I had in years. I woke up without immediately checking my phone, bracing for a passive-aggressive message disguised as concern. I cooked meals I actually liked, instead of defaulting to whatever Samuel wanted. And when I left for work, I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells. Italy took care of the rest. I spent a week on the Amalfi Coast drinking wine on sun-warmed stone steps, letting salt air and sunlight scrub the exhaustion from my bones. For the first time, I traveled alone without being accused of abandoning someone. I watched sunsets melt into the sea like gold-ate pasta with no one judging my portion size and felt myself, my real self, start to reappear. By the time I came home, something fundamental had shifted. I wasn't carrying his shadow anymore. I wasn't rehearsing apologies in my head. I wasn't shrinking myself to keep someone else from exploding. I thought the story was over. But while I slowly stitched myself back together, Samuel was falling apart like cheap thread being yanked from a sweater. The details came to me through David. We had gone out for beers, both pretending it was a casual catch-up, but I knew him well enough to sense he was sitting on something explosive. 3 drinks in, he caved. "I shouldn't tell you this," he said, wiping foam from his lip. "But Audrey? Holy hell. You need to hear what happened with him and Melissa." I didn't feel dread, just curiosity. Detached, distant curiosity. "Let me guess," I said. "They're already fighting." He gave an incredulous laugh. "Fighting. Try 3 weeks." That's how long it lasted. 3. I blinked. 3, he repeated, holding up 3 fingers like he still couldn't believe it. As soon as Samuel showed up at Melissa's loft dragging a duffel bag, the fantasy shattered. Melissa had never wanted Samuel as a partner. She wanted the thrill, the sneaking around, the validation, the attention he poured into her during work hours. The moment he became fully available, fully hers, he became boring. Worse than boring, he became a responsibility. He tried doing to her what he did to me. Definitions, labels, emotional pressure. Where is this going? What are your expectations? How often should we see each other? Melissa, for all her flaws, was not stupid. She had watched him emotionally cheat on me in broad daylight. She had seen him weaponize insecurity, and now he expected her to play therapist wife. She dodged him, started claiming work emergencies, took business trips that didn't exist, went out drinking with coworkers without inviting him. And Samuel, being Samuel, panicked. He clung, he questioned, he pushed. The end came when he saw a dating app notification pop up on her phone. He confronted her, loudly, needy, accusing. And Melissa laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a guilty one. A vicious, amused, utterly unbothered laugh. According to David, she told him, Samuel, you cheated on your girlfriend of 4 years to be with me. Why on earth would I trust you? Why would anyone? And then the final blow. You're fun for 3 weeks, not forever. She kicked him out at 2 a.m. No ride, no sympathy, just the duffel bag he had proudly walked in with 3 weeks earlier. From there, the decline accelerated. Without a place to live, because I had already removed myself from the lease, he had no choice but to move back in with his parents. The same suburb he used to mock, calling it the land where ambition goes to die. The same house he swore he'd never step foot in again. Work wasn't kinder to him. Office gossip spread faster than truth. People noticed the sudden implosion. They noticed Melissa's retreat. They noticed Samuel showing up late, unfocused, jittery. Rumors morphed into myths. That he cheated. That he'd been dumped by 2 women in a month. That he had a meltdown in accounting. That he was crying in the parking lot during lunch breaks. Whether true or not, his polished reputation had crumbled. Once people admired him. Now they whispered behind his back. David leaned back in his chair, lowering his voice, even though no one around us cared. They call him Ghost Boyfriend now. I frowned. Why? Because he disappears whenever real commitment shows up, or when reality hits. I didn't laugh, but inside something quiet and weary understood. Samuel always ran from whatever demanded maturity. Meanwhile, my life was steady, peaceful in a way that felt almost fragile. I cooked, I slept, I healed, I cried sometimes, usually not because I missed him, but because I finally realized how much of myself I had sacrificed trying to keep him happy. A month after the Italy trip, I started dating again. A gentle pediatrician named Ethan, soft-spoken, respectful, thoughtful. On our 3rd date, he insisted on splitting the bill, not out of ego, but out of fairness. We're a team, he said. Even early on, things should feel balanced. It was such a small thing, such a normal thing, but it felt revolutionary. Life was moving forward, which is exactly why I didn't expect to hear my name echo across a gym parking lot one Tuesday evening. Audrey. The voice was thin, shaky, almost unfamiliar. I turned. Samuel stood by the bike rack, shoulders slumped, hair uncombed. His clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. His face looked hollowed out, as if the last 3 months had carved trenches beneath his eyes. For a moment, I waited for the old anxiety to return, the tightening in my chest, the bracing for impact. It didn't. All I felt was distant, detached pity. He stepped closer. Can we talk just 5 minutes, please? What do you want, Samuel? His mouth trembled. His eyes were glossy. He wrapped his arms around himself like he was cold. I need you to know I'm sorry, he whispered. I messed up. Audrey, I messed up so bad. And for the first time since knowing him, watching his face crumble in front of me, I felt absolutely nothing. Samuel stood there trembling, waiting for me to break, waiting for me to soften, waiting for the version of Audrey he used to mold quiet, careful, accommodating. But she was gone. The sunlight overhead buzzed against the metal poles, the asphalt still radiating late afternoon heat, and it struck me how strange it felt to see him in the same world where I had finally begun to breathe freely. I messed up, he repeated, voice cracking like thin ice. I was confused, Audrey. I was insecure. Melissa was in my ear telling me things, promising things. I panicked. I thought you were stringing me along. I thought you'd never commit. I folded my arms loosely, not in anger, just to keep distance. You didn't mess up, Samuel. You made a choice. He swallowed hard, shaking his head. No, that's not fair. I didn't know you had the ring. If I had known you were going to propose, I would never have gone to her. Never. A dry laugh escaped me. Not cruel, not mocking, just startled at how he still didn't understand. Listen to what you're saying, I said quietly. You're telling me your loyalty comes with conditions, that it depends on what I can give you, that if I'd shown you a diamond 5 minutes earlier, you wouldn't have cheated. I held his gaze. That's not love. That's a transaction. I watched the words hit him, watched the faint wince the way he stepped back as if bracing for a blow. He wasn't crying yet, but he was close. One more emotional gust, and he'd collapse. "I love you," he whispered. "I still love you." Melissa was nothing. A mistake. I miss us. I miss our apartment. I miss the way you looked at me. I miss... His voice broke, and he reached out as if touching my arm would ground him. I stepped out of reach before he could. His hand dangled there, suspended in the air between us for a heartbeat too long. "We can fix this. I swear we can fix this. I'm in therapy now. I'm changing." There it was again, the negotiation, the bargaining. His need for a version of me that absorbed all his chaos and held it gently until he felt steady again. My silence stretched long enough for him to scramble for more words. "Just tell me there's a chance," he pleaded. "Tell me you didn't spend the ring money on something stupid. We could still use it for a down payment. We could start over." And there it was. The truth I had always known, but never allowed myself to name. Even in his regret, he was thinking about assets, not the relationship. About value, not love. He didn't miss me. He missed the structure I provided, the emotional scaffolding, the stability he drained until there was nothing left for myself. I looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time since that night at the restaurant. His clothes were wrinkled, dark crescents shadowed his eyes, and there was a desperation clinging to him like humidity. He wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was drowning and reaching for the nearest life raft. "I didn't spend the money on something stupid," I said calmly. Hope ignited instantly in his eyes. That sudden rise, that believing spark, I had seen it before. Every time he thought he'd regained control, he leaned in a fraction. "You still have it," he whispered. "Or the money." I let the silence sit before answering. "I spent it on my freedom." He blinked, face twisting with confusion. "What does that even mean?" "It paid for the lease break," I said. "So I didn't have to live with you anymore. It paid for the movers who packed up my things so I could leave in one morning, instead of dragging it out for months. It paid for a trip to Italy, where surprise I discovered I sleep better without your shouting in the background. And the rest, I nodded toward the car behind me. It paid off my car note. I have no debt, Samuel. No drama. No stress. The money didn't disappear. It was the best investment I ever made." I watched the flame in his eyes extinguish slowly like a candle starved of oxygen. His mouth trembled. His jaw tightened. The reality seeped in the version of me he counted on, depended on, controlled. She was gone. I wasn't angry. I wasn't emotional. I wasn't even conflicted. I was done. "You're cruel," he whispered, voice breaking. "How can you just turn it off? After everything we had, everything I meant to you." "I didn't turn it off," I said, opening my car door. "You did, the moment you gave me that ultimatum. You told me to propose by midnight or lose you, so I helped you pack." His face collapsed completely, then raw, crumpled, wounded. He took a stumbling step toward me, tears slipping down the ridges of his cheeks. "Please," he begged, "don't leave me like this. Audrey. I'm begging you. I'm begging." But I was already inside the car, already reclaiming a future he no longer belonged to. I started the engine. He kept talking, drowned out by the hum of ignition, his hands pressed against the window for a final moment, his voice ripping through the humid evening air with broken desperation. "You're going to regret this," he shouted as I shifted into reverse. "You'll never find anyone like me." I didn't look at him, not even once. His voice grew smaller behind me, swallowed by traffic noise and the soft whir of my turning wheels. As I pulled out of the lot, I checked the rearview mirror for only a heartbeat, not to look at him, but to confirm something inside myself. He was shrinking, dissolving into the distance, just a man standing alone in a parking lot screaming at the taillights of someone finally leaving for good. And I had a date with Ethan at 8. A man who didn't care about timelines or price tags. A man who asked me what Italian dish I wanted to try next. For the first time in a long, long time, I was hungry. Ethan chose a small Italian restaurant tucked between a flower shop and an old bookstore, the kind of place lit by soft amber lamps instead of chandeliers, where the servers knew regulars by name, and the menu never changed because it didn't need to. When I walked in, he stood from the table with an easy smile, the kind that didn't expect anything back, the kind that didn't measure my worth in timelines or milestones. "Good day," he asked as he pulled out my chair. Surprisingly, yes, I said, and for the first time in 4 years I meant it without forcing the words. Dinner was simple, gentle. Conversation flowed without strategy or performance. Ethan talked about the kids at his clinic, a toddler who insisted on roaring like a lion during his checkup, a teenage girl who brought him homemade cookies because she was proud of surviving a needle. He listened when I spoke, asked questions because he cared not, because he was collecting ammunition for a future argument. I kept waiting for the tension to creep back in the reflexive tightening in my chest, the fear of saying the wrong thing, the careful editing of my opinions. But it never came. Every time I braced for the old rhythm of conflict and control, the moment passed quietly, replaced by something I didn't recognize. Peace. We shared tiramisu at the end of the meal, exchanging small bites from opposite ends of the plate, laughing about the powdered sugar that dusted the tablecloth. At one point, he reached for my hand, not urgently, not possessively, just a warm, steady gesture, and I didn't flinch. That was new. After dinner, we stepped outside into the cool night. The flower shop next door was closing, the owner sweeping petals from the doorway. A faint scent of jasmine drifted through the air. Ethan walked me to my car, his hand brushing mine only when I moved close enough for it to happen naturally. "I'd like to see you again," he said softly. "I'd like that too." He leaned in just enough to make his intention clear, but not enough to corner me. When I met him halfway, the kiss was slow and warm, grounding, rather than consuming. When we pulled apart, he smiled like he'd won something without fighting for it, like spending time with me was enough. It was such a simple night, but simplicity, I was learning, is its own kind of miracle. I drove home with my window cracked open, letting the night air cool my cheeks. The city lights blurred past, soft and unfocused, like everything was finally settling into place. My apartment greeted me with quiet, the good kind of quiet, the kind that didn't hold its breath waiting for someone to explode. I hung up my jacket, set my keys in a bowl by the door, and stood there for a moment, taking in the small, ordinary calm of the space I built for myself. The ring box wasn't here anymore, but sometimes I still felt the weight of it, a ghost of the life I almost stepped into. A life built on panic bargaining, ultimatums, and constantly shrinking myself to fit someone else's expectations. Losing the ring hadn't been the loss I feared. It had been my freedom. Some nights I replayed the moment in the restaurant. Not the part where Samuel threatened me, not the part where he compared me to Melissa, not even the part where he shouted after me as I walked out. No. The moment I remembered most clearly was the tiny click of the ring box snapping shut. It was the sound of the life I almost ruined, sealing itself away. I set a small vase of fresh flowers on my kitchen counter before going to bed that night. No occasion, no apology attached, no need to soothe anyone's temper, just something beautiful for myself. As I crawled beneath the soft blankets, the kind I chose and paid for and loved, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A single message from Ethan. "Home safe. Thanks for tonight, Audrey. Sleep well." No demands, no conditions, no echoes of the old fear. Just warmth. I placed the phone face down and closed my eyes. They say the grass is greener where you water it. They say the grass on the other side is often painted over sewage. Samuel learned both truths the hard way. But I learned something else entirely. Sometimes the most important moment of your life is the one where you walk away. And as sleep pulled me under soft and slow, I realized something.